Hey Karina, thanks so much for entering the giveaway. I have your chart pulled up here. This is your natal chart for your reading. I also have your printed report for your vocation reading. I'm going to send this to you, and then you can decide if you want it in an email instead. It's kind of lengthy, but it's just going to be the written report of basically what we talk about here in this reading. I like to have it for you to reference, but basically the look at the vocation report is just to see, to find some meaning in whatever you decide to pursue, see what would be a good fit calling wise for you. It doesn't always have to be career, but in today's world, a lot of times it is. So it's just kind of answering the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When we were little, we didn't have to think about responsibility and security and all that. We just said ballerina, and that was what our heart wanted at that moment. And this is just kind of trying to retouch on what would have been right for us if no other things were involved. So it is complicated, but today's report makes it kind of simple. We look at a couple of things first here. Let's look at your big three. You have an Aquarius rising, so you are likely to have a side of you that kind of rebels against um, structure and real authoritative type of positions. People with Aquarius rising aren't super solo in their ambitions, but they are standing out from the group in some way. So you're not really the type of person that's going to want to just blend in like the corporate world and have all these superiors to you and have a real rigid kind of day. You're kind of going to want to be in a position where things can change unexpectedly and you have a chance to really show the team or the cause or the group your inherent skills and creativity. So with the Aquarius on the ascendant, that is the Leo on the descendant. So that means that you like to surround yourself with people that you do feel inspired around and who are creative and confident and really already do stand out. There's something about their energy that you like. Sometimes you feel like you can't tap into that, into yourself. Um, there is sometimes usually like this society's idea of what is expected. Maybe you have a different view of that, and showing that to the world makes it a little bit more at risk for losing a position or losing respect of the family. So it can kind of limit you sometimes. But on the other side of the horizon, the Leo, you see people that just do it anyway and do shine in their own creativity and are confident about what they're doing and why. And there's always been this yearning there to be that way. When you think of your career path, you think of keeping your independent spirit, but still being devoted to what you do. So that's kind of the dilemma of the Aquarian soul, right? You have this independent streak, you kind of rebel against the man, but you do like to feel connected to a cause. You just need to make sure that what you decide to do, you're giving of yourself and your skills, that you're able to tap into these creative talents that you have. That you're not just admiring people that have these skills, that you're also discovering your inspiration of yourself. Um, you also have this position of your sun being conjunct to the ascendant, also in Aquarius. So that really gives it like the star power. So you can feel that energy of your potential, and you can feel this magnetism about you. People, like the sun, the planets gravitate around and orbit around the sun. It's this energy that you have. It's just this really vibrant personality. And when you can put that focus on yourself and your skills, you become this natural leader. And in your career, it's just people want you to be a person that's controlling things because people naturally respect you and give you this authoritative presence. So sometimes when I see this, I think of, well, Aquarius is not comfortable being in a position of constraint and being told what to do. Well, for you, it's because, well, your sun is on your ascendant. You have the ability to be the leader yourself. So why would you need to follow someone else? You don't need that. You have your own uh, ideas and skills, and people see that in you. And even if you don't try to make that kind of move, you're probably naturally going to be pushed into leadership roles in your jobs because of that. So looking at the sun and the ascendant in Aquarius, that gives you that powerful, agreeable energy. It's a move maker, action oriented, and having people probably be influenced by you. So let's look at your sun so we can take into consideration your big three. And you have a moon in Virgo. So now we have the intellectual energy of Aquarius and also the intellectual energy of Virgo. So you're going to be someone that has a lot of mental activity, but also what those two signs have in common is this humanitarian effort. So if we think of great leaders and great people of society, we think, well, what comes to mind for me is Oprah is an Aquarius sun, and Mother Teresa was a Virgo sun. And I think to myself, what do they have? They go about things in a different way, but ultimately they're bringing awareness to less fortunate causes, and they're actively taking a role in lifting people up and getting them out of destitute situations. So generally speaking, you're going to have this pull to help improve people's living conditions. You might be called to help people in times of crisis, like catastrophe, like Red Cross kind of energy. You might become somebody who's really interested in like social responsibility of like everyone's role in climate change, how it's affecting people, but how it's going to affect future generations, other people's children down the line, people who don't have a voice for themselves yet. You're probably going to be really enthusiastic about giving people their voice, like freedom to express themselves, and helping those people that just cannot help themselves. So you might find yourself doing some kind of like altruistic or humanitarian effort. And you might find yourself that might help you really feel connected to yourself is when you're serving others, because that is the kind of energy that all three of your big three can kind of get behind. And when you can get your moon to be on board, it really helps you feel the sense of fulfillment and like you're living your everyday life in a healthy way. I really any nurturing profession with the moon and Virgo is going to be comfortable for you. You might even find yourself in situations of like unusual settings where you care for people. So like you could be really good at like psychiatric nursing or working with like trauma clinical psychology patients. You have a really intellectual mind, so you might do well with some type of like research or working in a lab somewhere to um, more on the scientific level. But usually things that include nurturing others or that require research or might be mentally draining from other people, but it's not for you. Or other people might think it's like unusual or, oh, I don't really like that like niche of a field. So like the trauma response or the mentally ill clients, and I'm even thinking like of a setting where people might think is unusual or a lot of unpredictable things happen. You might just be drawn to that. That might just be really like fulfilling to you. So now let's look at your second house because that is what we look at for money, our income, our resources for that. It's also where we look at for like personal values and what our self-worth is. So it has a lot of meaning there, but it's kind of about something that is ours, what we have earned, what we have worked for. Have we spent a long time building up our own value or our belief systems? Are we getting income or monetary value based on some talents of our own? It can be the tangible side of our world. So let's see, for you, your second house is in Pisces, and it is the home to Mars and Venus, which are actually in Aries. So you have a couple different energies going on here, but with the fire and the water signs, we know that that is emotional, passionate. It can be headstrong, and it can be without boundaries and restriction. So sometimes there can be an impulse control issue with that when it comes to getting really excited about taking on this career. You might just jump in. You might think, oh, goodness, I need to do this right now. I love this. I don't want to let this opportunity go. But it also just shows that your attitude towards making money is exciting. You like the challenge of being able to use your skills to gain in resources and support yourself. You feel really good about yourself when you're the one in the driver's seat and you're the one that is earning money. The energy suggests that your Pisces starting the second house, you're going to you can build your self-esteem and your self-worth through what you do. And by really feeling that deeper, like unconditional love flow, it might help you like, when you're really tuning into that like compassionate side of you, that looks like a way for you to build your self-worth and your self-image. And then it might help you become inspired in what your next business move is going to be. So sometimes when Pisces in the second house, it gets a little bit like unsure about where money is coming from, where it's going. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's not. Some kind of illusion about what you thought having money would be like, but maybe it's not. But for you, if you can get deeper than that, then you can find that the love of your self-worth and your life, of your mission, of doing anything that just brings you value to yourself, it's kind of a higher calling than the money anyway. So that's how you can maintain your self-value while you are experiencing the influx and lows of your cash situation. But to speak to the Venus in your chart, um, you probably have a pretty good self-worth about you. Venus, it can be contributed to our self-esteem, and in Aries, that's a pretty powerful position of yourself. So you probably have confidence in what you do and what your skill set is. So you attract people who also believe that about you, and you're attracted towards people who are living their best ways of presenting themselves that's attractive to you. And they probably are in positions where they're also acquiring their wealth from their skills. So it can help you earn money in the way that you associate with your image and the way you attract people who are influenced by your good self-esteem and your feelings of confidence and competence. So you want to lean into that in your chart so that you do get that material benefit from having that position. So it can kind of help with that Pisces placement. The more you feel good about yourself and confident about yourself, the more you attract this money and the material side of that house. So with the Mars in Aries in that house, it can give you more of a go-getter attitude when you're earning money. So it's this masculine energy. It's the doer, it's the drive. You can be very ambitious about how you want to go about making your money. Um, Sometimes it has to do with people actually who like your actual job. So when we were talking about things that the causes that you would be good at, if you're thinking about what gets you excited and how to just get out there and make a living, sometimes you can do things faster. Like maybe you don't want to go to long-term schooling because you already have this drive and this great ambition to make a living. So this is where you see people with displacement do like trade schools where it's a little bit shorter duration of learning, a shorter apprenticeship or a shorter schooling, and they come out like an electrician or some type of construction person or like a plumber something or like in the work the police force or like a firefighter something where you don't have to go to school very long but you're physically involved and not everybody can do that because it's very active job. With your high mental energy, if we're looking at your whole chart though, I would say the more action and um, you're very intellectual, so I think that gives you something like of a that Mars energy of taking risks for you could be put into like a position of like working in the stock markets, like high stakes, high rewards. You're you're going to follow trends well. Aquarius rules technology. Virgo is very organized and analytical. I could see you following trends of the stock market, being some kind of financial advisor or um, involved in the trades, being being very mentally fit to catch on and make fast moves and handle the unpredictability, right? Because Aquarius is very okay with sudden changes, and Virgo moon's adaptive, so it can roll with the punches a little bit. And this second house, Mars and Aries, is just going to make you really hungry for that win and that money coming in fast and hot. So I think that if you're not already into stock markets, you should take a look at that. Um, how do we tie that into being the humanitarian? Well, you could also, be doing financial trading for nonprofits. You can find a way to still serve the general public, but still keeping your mind mentally active and getting that rush from making quick trades. you need to feel some sort of adventure and like you're being courageous in your field. You have like, you want to be some kind of trailblazer and really make a mark. And that's part of your skill set. So you need to feel that stimulation. So you might find that you have entrepreneurial flair because you have all of these great like motivators and this mental energy with the fire drive. So combining all that energy, you might feel challenged to work with people who can't keep up with you, who aren't comfortable with your competitive nature. So you might find yourself, doing apprenticeships or learning the ropes of something and then moving out on your own because you'll have this strong desire to really earn what you deserve and not be stuck somewhere. Okay, so you either need to make money doing what you do, or you need to do it on your own. And you might find that that has something to do with that Pisces second house of having it and then it leaving and then coming back, and it kind of flows because maybe you do something on your own and it's not guaranteed, but it keeps you excited and wanting more. So another place we look at is the sixth house, because that's kind of like the house of the job. It's not always where you end up in your career, but it can kind of just be a place that you would be, having an area of ease in the working world. So for you, your sixth house is Cancer. So it gives you a sensitivity on the job. People think that they can, come to you with their troubles. Sometimes it is you either work in a nurturing place or you're the person that people go to. People just might feel like you're loyal and you're friendly and they can connect to you. It's a great sign to have as for people to feel like you could belong easily and be close to them. But this doesn't always mean that that is where your calling is. But if you were looking for an area to easily get an employment situation going, you could really tune into that humanitarian side of you, and then people will see your compassion at the workplace, and you could find yourself being into like healthcare professions pretty easily because of that general aura you have about you at the workplace, working with like the children, like as a teacher or a nurse, or anywhere where like your caring spirit is part of the job. So that might not be a total career move for you, but it is an area that you can be open to because you know that you will be good at that. Okay. So it doesn't light up your life like the second house, but in being a caring professional worker, you're still going to feel you're going to feel confident and able to do it. So let's see, let's speaking of, the final goal of, you find a job, but what's the real vocation? What's your talent? What's your calling? You look to the 10th house and the midheaven. So your midheaven is the start of the 10th house. It's your highest expression in the public world. What people will look at you as the expert of. It's your public reputation. Okay. It's kind of the highest point of your chart because it's the highest point of your calling. And we today associate that with career because that's just kind of how our society is. I always like to say it could also just be a vocation. It doesn't have to be how you pay your rent. You could look to the sixth house. What can I actually do to work? You look to the second house. Where am I going to make the most money? Or you can look to the 10th house and say, hey, what would I like be really called to do? So with a Scorpio on your midheaven, you need to be deeply and intensely involved in whatever it is you do, almost to the point of an obsession. So for you, it is about getting to that highest point and being completely married to what you do. This is something that you feel like you want to get to like the deepest level of whatever it is in any situation. So going back to that, being compassionate and humanitarian cause for you, you can really do well in like a crisis situation, or like detective work, um, helping people really dive deep into themselves to heal themselves, or diving deep into situations, uncovering the truth of something. You can think of like being involved in end of life things where people are uncovering the truth about themselves in preparation for moving on to the next stage of whatever happens here. You can help people who have been wronged with like criminal investigations, them feeling comfortable in telling you the deepest part of their truth in an effort for you to uncover and get them justice. The trauma counseling, forensics, those are all areas where a Scorpio midheaven would shine because it's time spent valuably, and you need to spend a lot of energy uncovering something. It's really getting to the bottom of stuff. It is letting your intensity and depth of your interest being unlimited. So you want to go further than where other people have stopped. You have said, no, there's still more here, and I'm going to focus on that and make it work. So, really, and then that kind of brings into the second house for you, with the Mars and the Venus. I mean, that could be financially rewarding, but it can also be exciting doing like criminal investigations or forensics or working end of life. There is a level of excitement to it, but there's this intensity to it. Not everyone can do stuff like that. So you need to make sure to balance that with like off time too, but it's kind of nice because you don't mind it being a little more intense than other things. You don't need to clock in and clock out. You need a calling. So looking in the 10th house is where your ascendant, so chart ruler is Uranus. So it's in the 10th house. So you're just called to public life. So it's not going to be, it's just kind of another example that your calling or your, reputation in the world, your vocation really is, it gives you your identity. It makes you feel more in touch with yourself, and it's kind of pulling you into inspiring change in whatever field it is you take. So if you do something in, let's just say, forensics, you find something, some kind of way to do it better. You understand the new technology that helps put criminals away. You're really part of the groundbreaking field work that gets a new level of awareness and gets things even more evolved. And it's part of how you want to spend your public image time. Is something you want to master and be known for, and you really want to do um, whatever it takes to change whatever's wrong with the system. So let's see where. So I also like to look to where the ruler of that midheaven is. So for you, it's Scorpio. So then it would be Pluto, which is in the 9th house. So that is, a higher education then. So then I would say, well, let's make sure, and with Saturn's conjunct your midheaven, this might be a later in life calling for you because it looks like it will take some time to do. So while you could make money doing the second house Mars, the trade, well, are you going to have long-term fulfillment, or is that going to lead to, making a fast impulsive decision and doing something else and then repeating the cycle. Here it looks to me you struggle with that. There's an opposition, and it looks like you have these pools between, do I want to spend a longer time in school, doing longer training, maybe spending more money to learn a different skill, going to graduate school. Do you really want to do all that? Well, to reach your full potential in your vocation, Saturn's kind of saying you might have to be a little bit more self-disciplined and put in the extra time to be open to the level of competent you want and the high degree of mastery that is really going to make you feel fulfilled and then really change other people's lives. You know, the back to the forensics, if you're going to be making breakthrough insights into cases, I mean, you really need to be knowledgeable. And with Scorpio on the MC, you're not afraid of putting in time to be as knowledgeable as you can to get to the full range of whatever the calling is. You want to know it 100%. You're not going to waste time and try to fool people. No, you really want to learn all you can learn about something and then be the expert. So Pluto here is saying, you know, you're going to need the higher education for that, but it is transformative and it is going to push you through the next level. And Saturn will have you work hard for it, but when you've reached it, you'll be better off for it. So I think the longer education for you is in the long term your best interest. Although you would be good at many things, it looks like the long term, really buckling down, working hard for something that you can really know the ins and out of, like the back of your hand, to make these breakthrough changes and be really helping that person that can't help themselves, or maybe has already passed or is going to pass soon, help them feel less of a victim and help them feel more empowered. And in return, you feel more empowered and become your highest expression of yourself. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I feel like that is pretty much all the areas I wanted to look at. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will share this to you. Thanks again for entering the giveaway and being a follower on the page. We really appreciate you.